subo a la cámara ahí. Para...
Ponte los ángulos, que los ángulos.
Hey David, this is Jill Christensen. Hey, did Nancy get my message today? Okay. Okay, I might need you. Hey Nancy, did you get my message today? Hey. Oh, I was gonna see if you wanted to go to the garden club tomorrow night. Maybe me and Drew could get you there. Okay. I'd love to go with y'all if I could. Okay. If I'm still alive tomorrow night. If I'm still alive tomorrow night. I'm being threatened. So yeah. Uh-huh. Oh yeah, yeah. Bobby's in New York, so anyway, I might be, it's serious again, so anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do right now. So anyway, okay. I'll just touch bases with y'all tomorrow. Okay. Not really, but I'm just going to try to make it through, okay? I might call later if I need some help, okay? Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Robert, go away.
I just want my notebook.
Quit being a pest.
I'm not being a pest. All I want is my notebook out of the...
You know...
All I want is my notebook out of the office. Rachel, could I please have my notebook?
I think B and all of those people just think things... You know, because Rebecca goes home and all her friends
please
tell
have my
them.
notebook? Rachel, out! Rachel!
Video me! You're videoing me!
Rachel!
Leave her alone, Robert.
Leave me alone!
Teacher tomorrow and tell...
He's like, stop!
Go on.
This way, run this way.
What? Duck!
This way.
I think it's over.
This tells more than anything.
Okay.
Well, a bunch of things, so you can get the pictures
Huh?
of the thing.
Let me tell you how it happened. I was in the USO show one night in a nightclub.
Stop.
You want to leave? And this captain was there from the Pentagon. And he was the liaison officer from Fort Benning, Georgia, assigned to the Pentagon for the airborne. And he said, "You're the kind of guy I want. I'm gonna give you my card, and you call me, and I'll get you in the paratroopers." And the paratroopers were the elite forces at the time, because the only specialized troops that they were training were paratroopers, because they had a surprise effect on the operation of jumping into a battle area and surprising the Germans. Well, anyhow, I put his card in my pocket, and this is 1942. 1941, I was working for the telephone company building switchboards for the Pentagon. You ever heard of the Pentagon?
Yeah.
Okay, the Pentagon was the biggest long line telephone systems in the world, and I worked on that. building these switchboards as a job until I was going to get drafted. And I was working at the telephone company on Sunday, December the 7th. And I got off work at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was going to a dance. And this is Sunday afternoon now. And I went out and got on the streetcar to go to the hotel, and everybody was solemn and sad and talking about Pearl Harbor. I said, "Who is she?" He said, "It's not a she." He said, that's a island that we own down in the Pacific." I said, "Oh, well, I'm never going down there." He said, "Yeah, you might." He said, "Why?" "Because the Japanese just bombed it today." And that's how I found out about Japan striking Pearl Harbor. I never heard of Pearl Harbor in my life. Nobody else had. We didn't have it in school, see, because things hadn't happened. It just happened that day. And I got to the dance, and everybody's standing around doing nothing. And the band would play a tune, and they'd stop, and everybody'd look and do nothing. I said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Didn't you hear about Pearl Harbor getting bombed?" I said, "Yeah, why? We're having a dance. Let's go play." And that's how I learned the upcoming events of World War II. So anyhow, I kept in touch with this captain. He worked out at the Pentagon one end of Washington, and I worked at another part. You ever heard of Marriott motels?
Yeah.
Marriott system? Well, Mr. Marriott, his name is Marriott, Mr. Marriott owned 13 root beer stands. And I worked for one of the root beer stands. And I was hopping curb making $100 a week. And that was 4 times as much as anybody in High Point was making as for any job. My daddy, he only made $16, $18 a week. And he was an expert upholsterer. He used to build these cabinets here, these things here. And all they were making was $16, $17, $18 a week, and they've been doing it all their life. And here I was hopping curb, making $100 a week, and I was really making some money. And that was in the years of what we call the zoot suit. Zoot suit was a peg leg pants and long jackets and chains, and I never wore a hat, but I always had a zoot suit because that was what the boys wore. Y'all wear blue jeans today. Well, I took my blue jeans off in 1937. What happened? I was working at an ice cream factory when I was 16 years old. Ice cream factory. The boss came to me one day and said, "Jackson, you got to join Social Security." I said, "What's that?" He says, "Well, that's a government program where the government is going to take care of you after you retire at age 65. I said, 65? Nobody ever lived past 65. In those years, men died early in life, 50s, 40s, 50s, and some of them reached 60s, but very few ever reached 65. Anyhow, I said, "What's the government going to do?" He said, "Well, the government's going to take care of you, give you a check every month." I said, "They are?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You mean they going to give it to me?" They said, "Yeah, there's some strings attached, but, and you'll find out about that later, but for the time being, I want you to give me all the information you can, where you're born, what year, and all that good stuff." And I said, "Okay, I'm going to tell you one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to take off these overalls, and I'm never going to wear them again." So I took off my overalls, and I never have worn them since. Not even blue jeans. I didn't wear blue jeans either. So that's how I quit whenever the government told me that they'd go give me a pension whenever I retired in 1965. Anyhow, I kept in touch with his captain, and I got my notice that they were going to draft me. I was supposed to report for draft in a number of weeks, whatever. So I called up this captain and told him. He said, well, here's what you do. He said, where do you want to go? I said, well, I want to go home. He said, what's home? I said, near Fort Bragg. He said, well, I'll tell you what you do. Go up and down the towns on the East Coast and tell them you want to enlist and where are they sending them this week. And so when you find one that they're going to send them to Fort Bragg or to North Carolina, that's where you enlist. So what happened is I went up and down the coast and asked them where they're going to send the troops, the draftees. They said North Carolina. I said, where? Fort Bragg. I said, sign me up right here. And he also told me, he said, now when you sign up, put on their paratroopers, special paratroopers, don't forget. So I said, okay. So I didn't know the significance of that, but anyhow, I put information in my pocket. I went to Maryland and found a place, and they sent them to Fort Bragg that week, next week. So I signed up, and I quit my job and enlisted then. I was not drafted, I enlisted. Okay, so then, sure enough, next week, I got on the bus and went home, and went to see my parents in High Point. And Daddy said, what are you doing here? I said, well, I just enlisted in the Army, and I got to go to Fort Bragg for training. They said, oh, okay. Well, Daddy knew all about this because he ran a pool room. And he's around young men and boys all the time, so he knew about the draft and what was going on. And he had been eligible for World War I, but he had a mild physical condition, and they did not take him, so he did not have to go in the service World War I. So anyhow, he said, okay. He says, so you're going to be in for 13 weeks? I said, yeah, that's right. Now at that time, you had to go in the service and you stayed 13 weeks for basic training, and you didn't go anywhere. I mean, you didn't go, you barely could do enough to go eat, go to the latrine, go to sleep, and go back to work. And that's what you did for 13 weeks. So I stayed at home this one weekend and then went down to Fort Bragg, got on the bus, went to Fort Bragg, and reported in, and they assigned me to a National Guard outfit. Now this National Guard outfit was from Pennsylvania, and they had all of the rank was taken. See, National Guard outfits, it's like National Guard here in Greensboro. You go to meetings and they you earn your rank. PFC, corporal, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, on up like that. You earn it in your hometown. Well, I didn't have a chance. Here I am, North Carolina boy, in an outfit from Pennsylvania, in a National Guard outfit, and they didn't give me doodly squat. They wouldn't give me anything. The first sergeant got a hold of me, and he said, son, says, you just what I've been waiting on. I said, well, I'm not going to stay here. I'm going to transfer out. He said, you're not going anywhere. Ain't nobody ever transferred out of this outfit. I said, Sergeant, you're looking at the first one, because I'm moving. I'm not staying here. He said, yes, you are, and the first thing you're going to do is go do the darn latrine. So he put me on every crap detail that he could find. Guard duty, latrine duty, KP duty, pick up cigarette butt duty, clean the street duty, any duty you could think of, he put me on it because I was his young meat, see. Well, I did my job. I went ahead and did all I did. I said, Sergeant, I'm still going to leave you. I'm not going to stay here. He says, I got you, son. You're not going anywhere. So he kept me on duty all the time. He worked me over like a darn train.
What year did you, when did you go in? What year?
I went in September of 42.
And Pearl Harbor was in December of
December 41.
41. So
Yeah.
this was about 9 months later.
Yeah, about 9 months later. So the first sergeant, he just doted on me. He just wanted me to, because I was new meat to him, see. Of course, other guys had duty too, but I was his favorite because I was sort of smart alecky too. But I'd been in the service before. In 1938 and 39, when I was in high school, I would go to Fort Bragg for 45 days at a place called CMTC. And that was in the years when they had CCC, WPA, the PWA, WPA, all those man-made, government-made programs for people who didn't have jobs. And that's where they went to work. You know the City Lake out here in High Point? That was built with CCC people and PWA money. That's how High Point got a swimming pool. And if you notice, it's 5 miles from town. That was to include Greensboro and High Point and everything else. That's the way the government did things. You know this golf course up here at Stokesdale, on the right going? That was built with WPA money too. Did you know that?
Dawn Acres?
Yeah. Dawn Acres is built with WPA money, CC camp workers. And the CC camp, what they did is they cut trees and brush and cleaned the area. And WPA, they were people who handled machinery and built roads and poured concrete for pools and sidewalks and stuff like that. And that's how men during the Depression had jobs.
So,
Anyhow.
All right. Go ahead.
What do you want?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so let's get back to Fort Bragg. So the sergeant kept me busy. Well, I said, Sergeant, I said, you're not being fair with me. He said, son, you do what you're told and we'll get along. I said, I'm doing everything I possibly can. He said, yeah, you're doing all right, but says, you're gonna do this crap work. And he kept me on it. So one day, he put a notice on the bulletin board. Said, all those wishing to observe Yom Kippur, sign below. And so I signed my name. And he gave me a 3-day pass. Now, I'd only been in camp about 2 weeks. So here I have a 3-day pass for Yom Kippur. You know what that is? That's a Jewish holiday. And so he gave me a pass, so I went back home. I walked in the house, and Daddy said, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be in camp for 13 weeks. You're not supposed to leave. You didn't quit, did you? I said, no, I got a 3-day pass. And I showed it to him. And he said, what's it for? I said, it's for Yom Kippur. He said, what the hell is that? He didn't know what it was either. So anyhow, I spent the long weekend at home, went back to camp. Okay, so I'm still working this crap detail that this first sergeant kept me on. And I keep telling the sergeant, I said, Sergeant, I'm going to leave here. So you don't get used to me being around. I'm not going to be around. So after about 4 weeks or 5 weeks, I believe it was, he called me into the office one day. He says, the battalion commander wants to speak to you. He said, what the hell did you do now? I said, I didn't do anything. He said, you must have done something because the colonel wants to speak to you. I said, the colonel wants to speak to me? He said, yeah. I said, what did you say to him? He said, I didn't say anything to him. The adjutant sent down word to send Private Sappenfield up to see the colonel in Class A uniform. Well, I was a good soldier. I had all pressed and clean clothes, and shine shoes and all that good stuff. So I go and put on my Class A uniform, go up to battalion headquarters, knocked on the door. The lieutenant said, come in. I went in, and he says, you're Sappenfield? I said, yes, I'm Sappenfield. He says, sit down over there. The colonel wants to speak to you. I said, the colonel does? And he told me his name. Well, I didn't even know the colonel. Anyhow, he said, what do you do? I said, nothing. I've been just working my BUT off ever since I've been here. He says, well, you're in basic training. You're supposed to be working. I said, I understand that, Lieutenant. So anyhow, I sat there for about 5 minutes and said, okay, you report to the colonel and act like a soldier. So I said, yes, sir. And I've only been in the Army now, just a few weeks. Knock on the door, come in. So I go in. I walked in, saluted, standing at attention. I said, Private Sappenfield reporting, sir. He says, you're Sappenfield? I said, yeah. And he lit into me, and for the next 15 minutes, he chewed me up one side and down the other. Now what I had done is I wrote a letter to this captain in the Pentagon and sent it directly to him. Well, in the Army, you don't write letters to officers and not have nobody looking at it. They have to approve the letter that goes. And he said, you mean to tell me you wrote Captain so-and-so a letter in the Pentagon? I said, yes, sir. He said, who the hell do you think you are? And man, he chewed and chewed and chewed.